we're begging as beggars to Donald Trump for a better trade deal. I think it's so undignified. I think it's absolutely disgraceful. And this Keir Starmer, he just seems to be going around corners, coming up with these deals. All right, that deal with India was all right. Okay.
But Winston, if it works, however demeaning you might find it, if it works and it saves tens of thousands of jobs and it provides a massive respite and relief to British businesses, then Keir Starmer's his plans paid off.
I understand that, Ben. But what he's lost his credibility in the international community when with France, Canada, all these other countries. It's all right for us trying to go there and approach me and say, "Oh, I'm all right, Jack." This is just so undignified.
But Winston, those other countries have still got the tariffs applied to them. So they might be saying, "Oh, Keir Starmer, what a weak, pathetic little snivelling weasel." But ultimately, he's the one that's got the deal.
What deal? There's no deal. Donald Trump is not a man to be trusted. We don't even know about these deals. And he's talking about steel. If they didn't let steel fall away. The other day he came on and said, I spoke to British Steel. Keir Starmer is British Steel. And this we need to get ourselves sorted out.
But Winston, so would you rather he went in there and said, Mr. President, you're an idiot, we're not doing business with you, you can't be trusted, and by the way, your tariff policy is insane, than doing what he's done and actually being pragmatic?
I think we should take a reserve. We should sit back. We should stick with the Australians, the Canadians, all the people who are standing up to this man and stop pandering to him, because all we're doing is make...
What you see as pandering, the government would say, and I think they've got a point here, it's not pandering, it's pragmatism. We've got to work with this guy. What you're talking about is fine in theory, but in practice, Winston, people's jobs are on the line. Thousands of people's jobs are on the line.
I just find it so undignified, the way he's got us coming over there and just pleading to him, like everybody running to him. This is England, this is Great Britain.
If you're a worker at somewhere like Jaguar Land Rover, where he announced that today, or Ford, or whatever it is in terms of British car manufacturing, you don't really care if he looks dignified or not. You just want to know that your job is secure. And because of his demeaning behaviour, in your view, those people's jobs are now secure.
You know what, Mr. Ben? The thing is, the problem is we've let our industries gone down.
But
and now and we shouldn't be going to this. England was the main manufacturing steel. We let the steel industry...
Well, on that, Winston, we agree. But I think you're being a bit unfair, respectfully. I think you're being a bit harsh on Keir Starmer. I agree with you, it is a bit demeaning sometimes. But if that's what works and that's what benefits jobs and businesses and the economy more broadly in this country... It's what you've got to do as Prime Minister. You can do the tough guy act. You can go out there and talk the talk. If it makes people here worse off, you're not leading.
This seems to be a betrayal of those who fought for freedom and equality to actually defended freedom and equality in giving up their lives to fight Nazism.
Wow.
And Trump is not very far from Nazism, is he?
Well, I think he is, Andrew. I think he's a hell
Do
of a
you
lot.
really?
Yes.
Do you?
Yes, I absolutely do. And I'm
tell
really
me then,
tired of the comparisons, to be quite
honest
with you.
In what way is supporting Israel depicting Palestinians as animals and then shooting them like stray dogs, or the cabinet saying they want to drop an atomic bomb on Gaza, not an intent of genocide? You don't have to call it genocide.
Andrew, honestly, I don't know how you've gone in 30 seconds from talking about a trade deal to talking about what's going on in Gaza.
Well, no, because it's all connected.
How is what's going on in Gaza connected to Keir Starmer's trade deal with Donald Trump? Talk to me about
last week we were sending weapons to Israel.
Please, we've talked a lot about this. We will do so again. I want to focus for now on this deal that's been struck today.
That's fine, but I just think it's generally a betrayal.
A betrayal of... signing a trade deal with Donald Trump is a betrayal of the people of Gaza, you think?
Because of who Donald Trump is and what he represents.
Right.
And what he is actually doing right now.
So those 70,000 car industry workers in Britain, you're happy for them to lose their jobs?
Have you heard of progressive taxation?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's money to be had. to help those who don't have.
But that doesn't keep car manufacturers in this country in business, does it?
It may not for a while,
right?
But it can help those who are in that industry. So you make
70,000 people redundant on a point of principle?
No, you don't make them redundant.
Well, you cost them.
The state helps
let me rephrase
them. The state helps them. It doesn't just help people with many millions or billions of pounds.
Okay, so you push 70,000 people onto the benefits bill on a point of principle because you'd rather that than do business with Donald Trump?
But not benefits.
Well, okay, so you cost them their jobs. They're not going to get benefits. How are you going to look after these people? And who's going to pay for that?
Progressive taxation would pay for it.
Right, okay. So instead of just doing a trade deal with one of our closest allies, you make 70,000... Hold on. The United States.
Who is our closest ally?
The United States.
The ones who want to invade Greenland.
Well, yes, but that doesn't mean they're not our ally, does it?
I forgot they were our closest ally.
Well, they are. When it comes to defence and military cooperation, they are by far our closest ally.
And we are cooperating militarily and defensively.
Yes, we absolutely are. We are absolutely reliant.
Really?
Yes, really, yeah. Andrew. We are reliant.
So where is Ukraine going then?
We are reliant on US military support. We are reliant on US military intelligence sharing.
And can we rely on US military support?
Well, that's a different question, isn't it? That's a different question.
Well, no, it's not.
It is.
It's the same question.
It's a fair one. But your idea that somehow because we don't like what Donald Trump is doing, we should just turn our back on
it's
special
not
relations.
We don't like what he's doing.
It is.
It's what he represents.
What does he represent to you?
Agenda. He is stealing the American people's money with his, crypto coin scams. He is impoverishing the worst off in his own country.
The point is, if we only did business with leaders and countries and governments we agreed with, we wouldn't be doing an awful lot of business.
No, but he is so egregiously out of step with
more than some of the Gulf states, for example, that are also close economic allies?
Yeah, well, I would apply the same reasoning to them.
This is Andrew, it's lovely in principle. Don't do any trade deals, don't do any business with any countries that aren't progressive, liberal Western democracies. Fine in theory. In practice, you make millions of people redundant, your economy goes through the floor, the value of sterling plummets, and everybody gets worse off because of principle.
That's not the case. There are plenty of people we can do deals with without having the USA.
I mean, they are our main trading partner in terms of one single country. We need them for a defence and economic perspective as well.
So I think Starmer's played a blinder.
Not demeaning.
Because if you look at the last month of headlines, we're going to have antibiotic pork, we're going to have steroid beef, we're going to have American pharmaceuticals flooding the NHS, they're going to take away the digital tax. None of those things are happening. We have negotiated a tariff on our cars that was what we already had to the amount that we were already exporting. We have protected our pharmaceutical industry. We have protected our farmers by ensuring that our food standards are in place.
But there's still, Rob, sorry, let me jump in there. There's still tariffs across the board of 10% that there weren't 2 months ago, and it's that a lot of businesses wanted Keir Starmer to negotiate away, and on that element, at least he hasn't.
Yes, but the 10% was going to be across everyone anyway. It was the 25% on our steel and on our cars that was going to injure us the most.
So it's definite progress, but it's still worse than the deal we had 2 months ago.
But it is a damn sight better than anyone else has got. And it also doesn't block us from having a deal with the EU on things like food quality because we're keeping those standards.
But do you think he's moved? Do you think he's blinked too soon? Because what other countries, the EU and China and others, are kind of waiting on and hoping on is that if they play hardball and they stand up to Donald Trump, that at some point he will back down. Keir Starmer has sort of blinked already and said, OK, Mr. President, I'll do a deal with you. So if Trump then does remove tariffs on the other countries because he can't afford not to, we've actually found ourselves in a worse situation.
Ben, we have been waiting for any deal with the US since Brexit.
But to go back to the Brexit
years, every week we were going to get a deal.
No deal is better than a bad deal.
That allows us to build forward. And that's got to be better than 25% tariffs on our luxury cars.
No, I hear you, Rob. Just let me ask you if I could, just before we move on. Do you think these sort of successes, as you see them, globally, India deal, leading on Ukraine, deal with Trump, do you think they might start to sort of stem the losses when it comes to Labour and public support?
I don't think so, because the way this is going to be in the press is that it's a worse deal than Kemi Badenoch or Nigel Farage could have made. It doesn't matter. It wouldn't have mattered what they had done. That part of the press is going to say that Starmer capitulated and that Rachel Reeves is a coward and they should have done X, Y, and Z.